Hello. Well, thank you for joining us today. James has said wonderful things about you, and I also really enjoyed working with you whenever I got to work with you.
Yeah, it
I
took us a
remember
minute
being
to
great
remember.
friends. Yeah. So yes, you're here for sound today. Let's start off with how you got started in that. You said that you've been on about 50 sets now.
Yeah, about that actually, which is it's just kind of crazy for me to realize how many hours that must be. It kind of makes me tired thinking about it. Um, I started out as an actor, and the first sound equipment I got when I was about maybe 14, which is now 12 years ago. Do the math, how old I am. But I bought a Zoom H5 and I had just a $100 mic and just recording at home. And then it just slowly kept building from there. As an actor, I was like trying to think, how can I get onto film sets as much as possible to like network and meet people? And sound is always in demand. People are always looking for sound mixers. You will find work. So I definitely recommend it as just especially nowadays when it's such a competitive industry. Sound people always looking for sound. I promise you, you'll find work.
Wow.
And
So
I just kept building equipment like as I went on. It's like every little shoot I did, I was okay, I'm gonna invest in a better mic, I'm gonna invest in a better boom pole, a better recorder. And then what is great is with at least when you're starting out, it's a lot of word of mouth recommendations. So you keep befriending directors and producers, and then they'll tell their director producer friends. And then soon you've got a very like wide community of people that become your regulars.
wow, so cool. So how many years has this been for you now?
I'd say around, it's hard to say. I'd say like truthfully 5, but
Okay.
I think my first shoot was about 7 years ago.
Wow, that is so cool. That is
Yeah.
so cool. And has sound become like a full-time thing for you now?
Yeah, 100%. I do production sound and post sound. And when it makes me very happy when I can do both for a film. Just to like
Yes.
I want to take both jobs because it makes, it's easier for me for work, and it's just easier for the director because they just know they have that person locked down for the whole duration of the film.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get into that more of it because I think that relationship is really interesting. But starting out for you, what was immediately apparent as something that was particularly challenging or that you realized that you had to learn really quickly about that side of the industry or that side of production?
It's very especially production sound, it's very technical based. I sometimes I feel almost more like a electrician. Like I don't feel it's definitely not necessarily a creative job production sound. It's really how can I get the best quality audio possible? And you're looking for any sort of like interface. It's also being like a detective. You're looking for any sort of like interference to your noise. Like, are there planes going past? Have a plane tracker. Is the AC running? You have to find where you can turn it off. You have to communicate with the owners of like the location. Like, what's like, how can I get the best quality audio possible?
Wow.
Um, do I need to unplug a fridge? A great tip that I was taught very early on is whoever had to drive to the location, they put their car keys in the fridge because that way they'd be walking out to their car and then they'll remember.
Funny. That's
Yeah.
funny.
And that way the fridge always does get turned on and the property manager's happy.
Yeah, that's a good trick. I can see that. So starting off then, um, did you start off in like more like sound utility tech positions and then like worked your way up to like sound mixer? Like, is there much of like a ladder in sound department, or can you pretty much jump into sound mixing immediately?
So it entirely works based on the level of the production set that you're on. So very basic low budget sets, and I mostly been on indie sets like the whole career so far. I'm still in the early stages of my career, I would say. So I've mostly been a boom operator and a sound mixer. There was only one production where I was a utility sound technician, and that very much felt like almost just PAing in the sound department, which I actually really enjoyed. Does this group know the different positions for in the sound department, or I can go through that quickly?
Yeah, that might be good to just go through, even if it's review.
Great. So, it's often asked how many people do you need for the sound department? And whilst often on the smaller sets it can be done with one, I would definitely say it's two people. You have the sound mixer, which is the head of the department, and they're in charge of monitoring and recording the audio. Then you have the boom operator, who is in charge of the microphones. So that's the placement of the lavalier mics and operating the boom pole. Obviously, when you're on a small set, they will often want the producers will often want only one sound mixer, which you kind of have to fight for it because it can be tricky because there's usually a small budget. But I tell you, the amount of times I've had to sound mix with one hand and boom pole with the other because the levels aren't quite working for the scene. It's not it's not fun.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that a lot on set as well.
yeah. Oh, and the utility sound technician is usually in charge of batteries and cabling. I would say it's basically kind of like the PA in that department, which honestly I think is a great opportunity if you can be a utility sound technician on like a larger set, because I found it was a lot less pressure and you get to learn so much. I think shadowing is probably one of the best ways you can get ahead in this career.
Mm. Yeah, was that primarily how you learned sound? How do you go about learning sound if you're someone that's new to sound and you want to learn?
Well, I tell you what, I'd say maybe like 5 years ago, I went to a sound workshop with Film Independent, and that's probably where I really kind of like, oh, so I've been doing this wrong and this wrong. It's if you, I mean, like you see, seeing as you're at like a film school, you can you're probably on a lot of like film sets, and you might not always be the sound mixer on those film sets, but there usually is a sound mixer, and you can always just they're usually pretty introverted bunch, but they're also friendly. People don't talk to them that much, so they hear everything, but they don't talk directly to
Oh
you.
no.
So if you want to talk to them and ask them questions, they'll be delighted. I like that's why I'm here tonight. I love talking about sound with people. And you can just slowly pick things up from different mixes. And that's what I've done for years. I mean, I still do it now when I'm not doing a sound role in a film. I'll talk to
Mm,
the mixer and talk about his equipment and like and like take ideas.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
talk a
very
little bit
handy.
about the equipment.
Okay, so your most important part is the mixer or field recorder. This is a Zoom F8N. It's super dependable. This not only powers the microphones because you're using shotgun microphones, which require something called phantom power, which means they need a little extra juice, a little extra voltage, 48 volts to be exact. And you connect it to a boom pole with an XLR cable, and with a pair of headphones, that's like your very basic setup. That's enough to record the sound. You also have lavalier mics, usually a transmitter and receiver. And then this is the lavalier mic itself. You can usually either clip it on or tape it. Usually on a film set, you're having to conceal the mic. I recommend using sticky tape usually, and you might need to use a mic belt strap to hide the transmitter on the actor. Usually I save this for two main aspects. It's men having their shirts tucked in and people wearing dresses. It's if you don't have a mic belt, the actor can at least the person wearing the dress could wear shorts underneath the dress. That can work too. But it's I really recommend investing in mic belts. They make it so much easier.
I think shorts and a dress sounds like a great fashion statement.
Well, yeah, I mean the shorts are usually hidden, but I mean I've seen a lot of actresses on set. They usually wear like bicycle shorts like underneath their dresses, so that usually kind of helps just to kind of clip it in.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's one of the most that's one of the things that if I forget that on a film set, I'll be very frustrated.
Yeah, I can totally see
Yeah.
that. And then what do if you're hired for a job, what do they expect you to bring? The bare minimum of those things?
So it's interesting because they'll often pay you a kit fee to bring all of your equipment. Some places supply it themselves, but often I'm asked what equipment do I have to bring to the table. So it's usually the recorder, the mics, the boom pole, the headphones,
Okay.
and then there are a bunch of smaller accessories that I find I have to have, including like a rechargeable battery station for all the lavalier mics. Because think about it, if you have even just two sets of lavalier mics, transmitters, and receivers, that's at least 16. Wait. I need to do the math. That's at least eight AA batteries,
Wow.
and those can last you from like at least my ones, they last from like maybe 4 to 6 hours before I want to change them, because I don't want to find out how long they last for. I don't want during a take for the batteries to run out. That sounds like a nightmare. So I definitely want to change them like in between a take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. No, that's great to be prepared. How does it feel, or has it been difficult for you to often kind of run your own department?
It's pretty amazing. I love it. Honestly, it's great. I mean, I guess the AD is the only person where it's just like, okay, I guess I'll okay, I guess I'm taking orders from them. But it's honestly a lot of fun. And when you have like a boom op or a utility sound technician with you, it's nice to have that kind of like very like small family.
Oh, I was on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's probably very easy to function as well because communication is very tight in that department.
it's yes, it's nice, and especially when you have. I think boom operator is a very you know I think people don't always consider sound mixers like first on the call sheet. Boom operators are probably right at the bottom, which is a shame because it's such a useful thing on a film set. I they deserve a lot more respect than I feel like they get. It's very difficult and it takes a lot of skill.
Well, let's get into that skill. The skill set of mixing or boom operating or different roles on set. What are some techniques that you have found very helpful to your work?
Um, Often, when I'm asking, when I'm trying to check the levels, I'll set up all the mics, and a lot of the times actors can be a chatty bunch. So I'll just have the levels like running as they're speaking, and then I'm just slowly just tweaking it. And I've become so used to my system. I know the exact amount of gain, which is basically how much amplitude you're putting into the microphones to kind of get the level you need. I kind of have like a basic idea of like what the levels already are going to be, but then just having them talking in the room also helps. What I find is when I ask either for a line through or when I ask for a line through or like a sound check, actors will become self-conscious and they'll usually speak a lot quieter than I'm looking for. You can ask for them to deliver it at performance level, but honestly, performance level usually is just how they are naturally. So you just keep it running and just keep tweaking. What's really nice about the Zoom F8N is something called the dual record, and I use it on every single film set. It's basically a setting that allows you to take a channel, which is usually the shotgun mic's audio, and you can put it onto a separate channel and lower the gain. So anything that is too loud, screaming, shouting, like crying, like you can have that saved on another channel. So you're always kind of having that safety net.
Wow, that is really cool.
So
Interesting.
usually on like a first take, sometimes the levels aren't quite how I want them to be, but
Hmm.
I will still have that safety net of the dual recorded channel.
And is there a certain type of recorder that you would need for that?
The one I'm using, the Zoom F8N, has it. I have to check with the other ones. I mean, I'd probably say I have to check with sound devices. I'm not too sure. I've used them a couple times, but not for dual recording.
Right,
The
right.
F4,
What?
the F4 does have it.
The
Oh,
F4,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Zoom definitely has it for some of the bigger models.
Okay. Okay. That's really cool. What about I've heard a lot of debate on room tone.
Oh, interesting.
I've
Okay,
heard a lot of
what's the
debate
debate?
on whether or not it's necessary. I've had some mixers tell me it's not necessary to take, and I've had others tell me that it's absolutely necessary.
I guess my question is, are the other ones that say that it's not necessary, are they the ones that edit as well?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. In some takes, in some takes, you'll just have silence in a scene, and you can use that silence as room tone.
Okay.
If you're really good and you can get to a film set either early or stay a little later, or even go to the location scout, which is, to be honest, is asking that can sometimes ask a lot for a sound mixer because you're normally not getting paid on those days when it's the smaller gig, but then you can just record the room tone and just have it available. I collect sounds as well. So just having that clean like 30 seconds to 1 minute of room tone is just great for me to have in my collection personally.
Hmm.
It's not the end of the world usually.
Okay, so
If it's a
you
particularly if there's something like you have like chatter going on for half of the scene and then it's not there for the rest, that can be really tricky because now even when you clean up, you're gonna have basically two different sounding scenes
I see, okay.
in one. So that's where it really comes to save. Also, when you're recording ADR
I was just
or
gonna
a
say, yeah.
wild line, it's it's very hard to for me personally. For me, I find ADR very noticeable, especially when I wear headphones. Even on like high budget films and TV, I feel like I'm hearing it. I feel like I'm hearing it all the time now, and my girlfriend hates it because I'm just like, that's ADR, that's ADR. But room tone definitely helps mask it, and you can use there's actually this software you can use through a company called Isotope called Dialogue Match, where you can actually connect room tone to the ADR and add in like a fake, like you can kind of add add in like EQ and reverb to that ADR to kind of make it match better. Yes, isotope dialogue match. That's correct. And
Cool.
you can add it to the ADR to kind of make it fit in the scene better.
That is so cool. About
Yeah,
ADR, how would you recommend going about recording that in the best way?
sure. You find out if you want recording the audio on the set. I would try and get the same mic that you recorded with during the production. I feel like a something that I didn't wasn't told at the beginning, and I only found out kind of later, was using a lavalier mic. If there was a lavalier used during the take, that's amazing because lavalier is always going to have pretty much the same sound wherever you go. With a shotgun mic, you're getting a lot of the room, so you can tell like you can tell the audio of a shotgun mic in like a kitchen as opposed to a bedroom far more than you can tell of a lavalier because it's always going to come from the same like distance from your mouth. So
Okay.
if you use a lavalier as ADR and the rest of the take you're using the lavalier mic from the production, the difference is far less.
Interesting. That's cool. That's a
Yeah,
great tip. Thank you. Um, let's move more into post-production now and editing sound.
sure thing.
Um, I guess starting off with that, what program do you use to edit on?
I started out with Adobe Audition and I loved it, and I still do in some ways, but I use Pro Tools
Okay.
because that's just what the industry uses. That's what every 60, 70-year-old top high tier audio editor uses. So if you want to get in those rooms, you need to know Pro Tools.
For sure. I've heard that LinkedIn has some really good tutorials on using I
Yeah,
don't
LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, LinkedIn Learning is great. It's like YouTube, but you can trust everything you're being told.
know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How is that how you learned Pro Tools or how
It
did you learn this?
so I actually went to the Los Angeles Recording School and I getting my bachelor's of science in
Right.
audio engineering
Wow, okay.
as well.
So that's been really instrumental in helping you
Yeah.
learn to edit sound.
Yeah. For post sound, yes. I've been doing production sound before that, but with post sound, it definitely kind of got me from just before then, I was just doing dialogue editing,
Hmm.
which is still probably my favorite part of sound in general. I want to be like the world's greatest janitor of sound. I just want to clean up give me the worst sound in the world, I'll clean it up.
Like a project. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But uh yeah, I definitely say Pro Tools is the main go-to. You could also I know a lot of like audio engineers for music, they also transition into to film sometimes, and they can use Logic for
Mm,
I'd say Logic is better for sound design than overall like post-production sounds, but
okay.
it's I've seen really talented people use it quite well.
That is so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I I I didn't know that logic was an option in yeah, for
Interestingly, yes, I didn't know that either until I collaborated with someone on the feature last year,
okay.
and they kind of put me in my place with it. I was
Oh,
like,
oh, well,
okay,
that's always a
okay.
fun experience.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
loved it. I learned something new.
So, whenever you go to edit for a film, what frequent challenges do you run into from the recorded sound whenever you put it into the editing program? Um,
Yeah. The first thing you do when you open, it's usually an OMF or an AAF file that's exported from, I mean, most of the time it's Premiere or Avid, but the first thing you do is you have to organize all of the audio tracks because they are not they are usually not tailored for audio. You get a whole sequence of different tracks and you're like, what am I looking at? So I have to, you kind of have to work out, you have to name, categorize, color, all of them. I also lock all of the audio tracks into place. That way, there is no risk of a syncing issue.
Okay.
Because that should be your biggest fear. That should be your biggest fear when doing post production sound is losing the sync, because that is a very scary thing. It's not always your fault, because usually when you get into post production sound, you have to wait for the video to be picture locked, which means no more video edits will be done.
Mm.
And I've had it before where there are some directors which will be like, hey, hey, we decided to chop out, we just decided to take a scene out. Here's the new reference video. And it's like, it doesn't really work like that.
Oh no. So you have to start over when that happens?
You can start over, or you can try very, very hard to try and match. It's a pain in the neck.
Wow.
It's really that's probably that's a huge warning flag to me about working with this person on a future project.
Okay.
Is when they keep editing after you've after they've given you the files and you've spent a couple like mid-days or weeks working on a project. You're like,
I
oh,
imagine that there's a sense of respect there, of like to respect your time that you've spent
it's I
editing.
sure. And then then again, like if someone doesn't know like your side of things, maybe they think it's easy. Maybe it's just the lack of knowledge with it. But yeah, if I haven't recorded the sound that I'm editing, you're trying to, usually you just kind of do a watch through and you start spotting, which is creating like a marker for anything that sticks out, including I also do sound design at this point too, marking what I want to put in for sound design. It could be like a door opening or closing. It could be adding a riser, which is kind of
Mm.
in a trailer when the sound kind of builds up to like build anticipation. So
Okay.
I sound design comes quite a bit later. I always focus on the dialogue first, because that's usually the director or the editor's biggest concern, is like, hey, like, because once you start sending like a dialogue pass to the director, they usually get a lot more excited. And like, this is step one, and then step two, I start filling in with sound design and Foley, making a list of the ADR quite early and sending it to them, so they have something to do whilst I'm working.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's your responsibility to list where ADR is needed and things like that.
Usually it's kind of like a mixed bag. I normally I have like a notepad for each type of that I have like the list of like, what does this director usually want, and then
Oh,
I go back to that to focus, because everyone's kind of got a different way to work. Some people will just list me all the ADR for them, and others won't give me a list, and I just find it and pick it out. And
neat.
I'm fine to do both. Usually I'll make my own list regardless, because sometimes I can clean it out. Sometimes I think it might be a lost cause. It might just be better to put ADR in.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you have, in a way, a sense of a creative opinion, right?
Yeah, I definitely say so.
That's so fun.
I
That's
mean,
really
with the sound design too, you can have you can have directors that will say exactly what they want. I'd say it's almost the same as a cinematographer. Is the director has a vision, and the cinematographer's job is to kind of like present that and present that visually. Your job is to present it audibly.
yes.
So right now I'm working on this kind of 80s style slasher horror movie, and I've been like watching a lot of the Friday the 13th movies and kind of taking a lot from that. And the director gets really excited too, because you're bringing something to the table that they may not have necessarily seen, because audio is not their main focus. They're so focused on the visual. Like
Yes,
you
but
you
it
want
can
to
really
bring.
bring a story together.
Oh, amazingly, yeah. You normally, when you watch a film, you're not normally thinking about the sound, you're just thinking about how good the movie is. And that's the main aim.
That's how you know that the sound was done well when you're not thinking
Exactly,
about it,
yeah.
right? What an interesting job.
100%, 100%. That was
You
also,
said
yeah,
you said earlier that you like to record the sound that you edit. Why is that?
because when I open up the edit, I know what I'm looking at. I know what to expect.
Is
You
there a
don't.
certain way that you'll record to favor your post-production process?
100%. Usually when I get the script, I will mark down what I think I'll need sound effects wise. And then when I'm
Mm,
on location, I'll try as much as I can to record wild sounds, which is basically sound effects on set.
okay.
So you're like, I don't know, it could be like picking up like a bag filled with like nails, like you just like want that metallic sound, like, or like there's like a rifle on set that someone's um like reloading.
Mm,
It's right there in front of you. It's way better than having just like a stock sound effect online, even though that can work too. I just prefer to have everything ready. Also, it saves you time further down the line.
hmm. Right. Yeah, you're taking care of some Foley, essentially. Do you have
Yeah.
to communicate with the AD or other people on set about that, like making time to record
uh,
the sounds?
so I don't so it's not necessarily that I make time during the film set. It's more I find my own time in between the film. So I never want to like slow down any other department. It's just up to me to find the parts in between. When you're on a film set, sound maybe takes a little while to set up, but once it's set up, you are done. Like it's there are like issues that are coming every like minute or two, but it's not like a film. It's not like gaffing or cinematography. Once you're positioned, you can go.
That's really
So if I have an extra minute or two, I might take an actor aside and record a wild line. Wild lines I should like press on this right now is far better than ADR.
mm,
If you can wild line basically is ADR on set, on the film location. So let's say we were recording in a diner, and then the next scene is going to be outside the diner. Whilst everyone else is going out, we've just finished recording in the diner. I missed some lines that maybe there were cars going past. I want to re-record with the actor. So whilst everyone's setting up outside, we will take a minute or two just to record a couple takes of those lines.
gotcha.
Another reason this is very important is usually it's quite funny, but the delivery that you get with ADR, just it really isn't. It could be like 6 months since they filmed this, and the level, like, they might have changed completely as a person. The delivery just does not have that same kick as it
Yes.
does filming just like 5 minutes ago.
Yes, I just experienced that recording ADR for my film. It was quite funny. I
It's tough. It's tough.
My first set, there was this ginormous argument. I'll never forget it about um they wanted to record ADR in a car, and there was just this huge argument about like that's going to be horrible, and then somebody else was like that was going to be fine. Do you have an opinion on recording ADR in a car?
Um, I'd say I mean, I guess it depends what the ADR is specifically for. When you record in a car, the like it's basically recording in a closet. It's like a very dead room. I'd say cars are great at recording voiceovers.
Okay.
It's basically being in a voice booth. Like I said, you want the ADR to kind of resemble whatever set location you're in as much as possible. I think you get what you can get, but my advice would be to try and like that. I mean, that's why honestly you can record in like a fairly like soundproofed room, but like I'd rather have a larger like a medium sized room to record than a car. I think that, honestly I think that's something that gets lost in translation is ADR is different to a voiceover,
Okay.
because a voiceover is very clear. It's what right in your, it's right in your ears. And then like actual film dialogue is way out there. It's two people like talking over a coffee. So that's when I think it can get lost. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think you could, I mean, honestly, I think you can make anything work.
Yeah. But
But
it's an important distinction, I think.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, also it's like is I mean, unless it's the 48-hour film festival, you could always try. You don't have to record in that car right then and there.
It's true. I've seen a lot of
Yeah,
sets do it, I think, because it's convenient as a way to record on set, but like a
for
way for
sure.
to. But I do think that's an important note. It sounds like maybe for an exterior scene, right? That wouldn't really be a good representation of that environment.
Yeah, I mean, exterior scenes can be tricky. I think it's okay, honestly, because at least you're not going to get any strange like background coming in.
Mm,
It has that going.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm thinking that we'll open up the floor for questions, unless you have anything that you're dying to add.
Let me see. I feel like I've gone through I was thinking, oh, another great thing to have. So is anybody here familiar with Walla? So yeah. So basically Walla is the sound of a crowd like chattering. It's kind of like background chatter. And if you can, that's another thing that you should try and record on location. So let's say the scene is at a party and you've got like a room filled with 10, 20 people. You can find Waller online, but I find that I find it very hard to believe. Like
Mm,
it's far easier to just like try and make time. Hey guys, can we just get like 30 seconds of like just like chatting and like party noise in the background of just people talking. That's
a
another
really
thing
good
that's just
note.
like, yeah, try and getting that like on a film set because it helps. Like those little things, they really kind of add up. You don't think of it at the time, but then you regret if you don't get it.
Yeah, I think, it sounds like you have a real responsibility to really have your eyes in the future, right? Of what are my future problems going to be and how can I solve those now?
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, with sound, I feel like, directors or producers, they might learn a bit about camera, but I think it's the same as like lighting as well. It's not necessarily a skill that everybody, when someone doesn't necessarily learn all the different departments. So
mhm.
it's usually up to kind of your knowledge, whether you think you have everything you need to go on, and you don't want someone to find out 6 months down the line that there's something that's missed, so you really want to just kind of, you just basically quality control. You want to make sure that they don't, that you didn't lose something like down the road.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you. These have been really great and specific tips. These are all things that can be easily applied to a set. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Let's open up the floor to any questions that we have for Oliver. We definitely have some like conditioned sound guys in here, so that's really great.
Great.
Anything that stands out to you immediately about post-production or production?
I have a question. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Oliver Boon. I know Oliver Chavez already. Um, so I think this is a question. I think this is a question for me and the audience, but kind of like, can you break down like in stages of like what gear you need to buy. So like, once you have this, okay, you can go to this and then go to this. You
Shipping.
like yeah, specifically like somewhat what like especially like at what point like do like buying battery sleds or Comtex, stuff like that.
I
Yeah.
I still rent out Comtex
All right.
because it kind of goes from project to project how many you need. I think you start out mainly is recorder, boom pole, headphones, and a microphone. Those are the kind of four that you just need, and you can be okay on a film set. When my first couple productions, I used an H5, which I think probably goes for about $200 now, and that's like I'd say for the price, it's brilliant. Lavaliers come a bit later, can kind of come a bit later on, depending. I think you mentioned do you have an F4? I think you mentioned
Yes.
F4 earlier. Yeah, so you do have enough channels for lavaliers. So if you wanted to, if it was a paid gig or get the producer to pay for it, you could also rent out some lavs for that day. But I'd say bare minimum is getting a really decent shotgun mic, because more often than not, I will go for the shotgun mic on a set. The lavaliers are great for distance and outdoor. Like you do need it there, but often I will see like they'll have like the masters as kind of like the opening and closing shots, so you can kind of get away with it just using the boom because they'll be coming in.
Mm.
I'd say lavaliers are usually as kind of like a safety to make sure I've just got a backup audio, and then also just getting those difficult shots. But I'd say getting getting a boom pole as well. I definitely recommend not going cheap on the boom pole. K-Tech is a brilliant brand, and they have prices going from like I'd say 200 to in the thousands. I'd say they are just really dependable, and I've had a couple. I like them a lot. Wait, I think I brought it. Yeah, I'm just surrounded by all my equipment. I just wanted to be ready. What I love about this boom pole is the XOR is built in, so there's no like cabling going around, and also the output is coming from the side, so you can actually have the boom pole like on the ground, which cannot be understated enough is is very helpful, and not every boom pole has that.
Mm.
This one I think I got for about 280. I've been wanting to invest in a more expensive one, but still waiting on that. It just feels a lot to pay for a stick. But
Yeah.
cannot be understated. Very useful. I also have just a backup Rhodes boom pole, but I never use it. I just have it on set just in case there's an issue, because I've had a boom pole break on a set before because the inner coil wasn't working. They can be, yeah. Also very important, actually, the reason it broke was it was probably me. It was pretty early for me as well. And the boot, I wasn't holding it at the time it broke, but I'm sure I kind of led to it being broken. Was you don't need to tighten it so much. When you're starting out, you may be kind of worried of like things being a little loose, but if you tighten too hard, it will break. And then then it's just completely like the inner workings are just completely like slip through. And at that point, I would just buy a new one.
Wow.
Um,
It's
is,
a good one.
is there any specific equipment you're considering getting that prompted your question?
Yeah, no, well, I'm actually already like kind of at that point where I have the boom, I have lavs, I have the
Great.
recorder. And it's kind of like, okay, I have like the bare essentials, and I'm thinking like, because now everything, like every other tier is just so expensive. I'm like, oh, what is like the proper next step to invest in?
I'd say some Pelican cases can be great. Sound carts, even honestly, even just buying like a bunch of mic belts if you don't have them already.
Okay.
It just makes your life easier. Do you have a harness? for your mic
Yeah,
band?
I do have a makeshift one I just got like at a hardware store.
Okay, that works. Yeah, just support your back as much as you can. Um, I mean, I'd say you're in good shape. I definitely think I would either get more lavaliers more or like start buying like a Comtech setup.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah, do we have any other questions before we head out? Anyone?
Oh,
Ivan?
yeah, I get. Yep, I have. Oh, oh, which one's going first? Adam, you
Uh,
stole my question spot. Oh man. All right, I'll let you go first.
Someone go. Someone go.
Yeah. Hey, I was wondering, since you're a recordist and an editor, do you find yourself like more sensitive to like poor sound in TV and movies?
Absolutely. Especially I feel like I can often tell where the lavalier mic even is, like in some scenes. Like you can actually kind of like see it like on the shirt, like underneath, and you can also hear it. ADR as well is just it kind of ruins movies for you in some ways, because the more you the more you're listening for it, the more it just appears everywhere. Like even some I don't know where this recording is going to go, so I won't name drop too much, but just even some top level like TV shows. And I have sympathy for people like in the TV industry, because the turnarounds are so fast. So often it's kind of like we'll do the best with what we've got. We've got like a 3 week deadline for like a 40-minute show. So the answer is yes. You can definitely hear when it switches between a lavalier and a boom. Definitely hear when it's ADR. But the point is just getting it to a level where it's not going to be too distracting for the general audience.
Yeah, I feel like after going through all these production courses in City College, yeah, like the more I go through those classes, the more I see it in different aspects like lighting, sound, and yeah, just in general. I
Yeah,
start seeing
the
that.
the the aim is for nobody to talk about the sound.
Yeah.
The aim is for the movie to be great. When I look at reviews for the projects that I work on, I literally command F sound. And if it comes out as 0 matches, I'm like, I did my job. I'm
Yeah.
happy.
All right. Yeah. So all my
What a
projects, that's the
thankless job.
goal.
It's in some ways, in other ways, people keep coming back for you, and I love honestly. Even though I feel like I'd want like definitely want like this like a stable career in post production sound. I love being on a film set.
Yeah,
It
they're
can
very different.
it can be a lot of fun. There's that great community feel that I think I'd be a bit too lonely in the studio. Yeah, sometimes I'm in this dark room all day, and then I go outside and I see like the sun and palm trees, and I'm like, oh, I'm in California. I forgot.
You're not introverted enough for post sound,
I
huh?
don't think so. No, I get lonely. I need people.
Uh,
I need my peeps.
I think Adam, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question because I've gotten this question a lot on set.
Shipping.
Have you ever had a, or the, have you ever had a moment where someone tells you, like an AD, for instance, is there any way you can fix that in post? And what's like the most wild? Is there any way you can fix that in post? Like question, because I've gotten like ambulances going by and it's like, can you fix that in post? And it's like, no, or like babies crying.
Um, it was so I there was this one short that I worked on about maybe a year ago, where it was the noisiest street I've ever experienced. And it wasn't even somewhere crazy. I think it was maybe like Koreatown. And there was like a family like on the opposite side of the road that were taking turns playing on a quad bike, and they refused to stop doing it because it's like they live on that road, they're gonna do it. There was also maybe like 20, 30 birds, different types of birds, like above the tree where they wanted to film. Planes, police, leaf blowers. I was just like, this is the worst like location for sound I have ever seen. And the craziest thing, the labs picked up the dialogue. Okay, it wasn't that much work to clean up. Somehow it was probably maybe like a 15-second like scene in the end, but it worked. I think I often get told like, can I fix this in post? It definitely just depends like what is actually picking up, especially when you got lavaliers as well. I often find I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, and I normally make it very clear to like the AD. I I want this cleaner. If it's not possible, then I'm not sure how it's going to be in post, because it's very hard to tell, because it's not like you can just clean up the audio like right then and there.
Is there
But yeah,
anything that would be like a definite like that would not work in post?
it's the sounds that aren't constant. Something like an ambulance is a great example, because it comes in strong and then leaves strong, and it's like only for like a moment in time. But then again, an ambulance just kind of ruins it. Planes, those like vibrations are really kind of tricky to remove, and you can remove it, but it lessens the voice a little.
Mhm.
Again, that's kind of where I'd look to the labs to kind of like possibly save the day.
Okay, is this something that
I
you would need time to look back and
Yes,
to the audio?
it's it's when I want to put it in, I want to put it into isotope and clean up, and then see how much there is. Is that music? Is there going to be music in the background? Is there a way I can hide all of this?
Yes.
Music is definitely your friend. If a scene has music, I'm like, oh Lord, thank you.
Yes, yes. I've heard of that as well. I had a recent film where there was like wind in the film, and
Yeah,
my editor was like, "Oh, thank God, it's gonna cover all the the bad sound that we have."
right, exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any final questions for Oliver? Hey, David, I see that you've joined us. David is one of our alumni. Hi.
Hello. I'm sorry
Hello.
I joined late. Very
No,
late,
that's
actually.
it's great to see you here.
Better late than never.
But just like as I'm taking sound and learning more about it, I've grown just like a huge amount of like respect for like anybody that works, whether in like as a sound recordist or like post-production sound. It's like I've taken like my sound class quite a few times already, but I'm always learning something new, and it's like the it's so much more technical, I feel, considering that it's like sound departments don't really get as much room to breathe as like camera departments or like other departments. And it's just shocking to me to like realize that. And it's like you guys always have so much more work that you have to and
Mhm.
effort that you have to put in order just to get uh like your work done well.
It's an interesting one, because with the sound department compared to camera, I feel camera department takes a while to set up a scene, and then they're ready. While sound, it might take you like a couple minutes, but then there could be an issue coming in every couple seconds that is like a lot of putting out fires, a lot of problem solving. And my personal experience is, sound kind of feels like under the radar, and I can kind of put out a lot of these fires without anyone ever having to like No, you're just kind of sorting it out quickly. If it's going to take longer, I communicate that with the AD. But honestly, I think when you have multiple people in the department, it helps a lot more. Other than just, I think like any sound mixer can agree, the words like waiting for sound is the worst thing you can hear on a film set for yourself. It's just a horrible thing. You never want that to happen. In the end, like even as a sound mixer, I will say I think the picture comes first. So I will try and like move as best as I can to work around the camera department.
Mhm.
But honestly, I also think like I think anyone working on a film set should have respect for every other department, because no job is easy. And if you're on a good film set, there should be that like mutual respect between departments. And I feel like it kind of like weighs on the AD to kind of set that with the different departments. And on the best sets I've worked on, I've had that. As long as you communicate any issues you have, then you're in a good standing.
Yes,
Then
I agree with David that I've developed a new respect for sound, seeing like how silent and, like almost unnoticeable that department tries to be, and yet their job is so important. Um, so thank you for taking the time to explain your job and your experience with us today.
thank you for having me. It was great.
Yeah, it doesn't get a lot of attention, and it absolutely should. It absolutely should.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Would you be willing to give out a contact, email or phone number for people to contact you at, if they had any further questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll type it into the chat as
Great, thank
well.
you.
Okay, this is my email, boomboxproductions@gmail.com. I also have
That's
yeah,
funny.
I know. No, you know what? I remember on the film set we worked on, someone told me it kind of went around. People started thinking my last name was Boom instead of Boon.
I totally thought it was.
No, you gotta read people. But but yeah, people were saying like, did I change it legally?
That's pretty funny. That's pretty
It was-
funny.
yeah, no, but it
It works
works. It
pretty
works
well.
well. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure in terms of a company name if I'd go with Boonbox Productions or just Boon Operator, because they're both perfect.
They're both really great.
Yeah. Um, I'm just trying to find it now. I also have a handout that I wanted to give that
Oh, great.
let me see. Um, 1 second, please bear with. Okay. I had it when we begun. I don't. I really want to give it. I might have to ask you to email it to them
Oh, that's
once I
fine.
once I find it later on. I don't know where it's.
I
I'm so
swear, I
disappointed. I had it like this morning.
swear.
Okay.
No worries, no
Oh
worries.
wait 1 second. I see it. I see it. Waiting on sound.
Yeah.
Waiting on sound. Okay. 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 Directors. That is okay. There we go. So this is specifically aimed at non-sound people, just kind of giving them like the basic guide of sound in general. But this was handed to me when I was first starting out, and I found it just very helpful. So it kind of goes through a lot of what we went through today as well, with just basically different sets of equipment, different phrases like wild lines and walla.
Oh my gosh, that is great. I'm gonna put this
Yeah,
on our website as well.
great, great.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for, coming with so many different expertise and, being so open with us about all of your experiences.
Happy to.
Yeah, best of luck in the rest of your career.
Thank you. Yeah, best of luck to everybody here.
Thank you so much, Oliver.
Yeah,
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm gonna leave
Thank
the
you.
call for a
Have a
little
good night,
bit.
Thanks for the
everybody.
talk, Oliver.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thanks, Oliver.
night.
Speak to you soon, my man.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Later. See ya.
Much love, brothers. All be well.
What?
Ancestors.
Huh?
Ancestors. I said, you guys be well.
Oh,
Yeah,
you too,
you
lad.
too. Take care, everybody.
Nice night.